group of Scottish traditional bagpipers and apparently drummers, and they're going to play you guys some traditional bagpipe music. Don't go nowhere, stick around and listen to this. This is something like you ain't going to hear nowhere else this year, I just about guarantee it. Guys, the Virginia Highlanders, give them a big hand there. Make them feel welcome.
Well, good afternoon. We are the Appalachian Highlanders Pipes and Drums from Abingdon, Virginia. The tunes that we just played were called the Crags of Tumbledown Mountain and McCrae Meadow. Crags of Tumbledown Mountain is a cliff on the island, the Falkland Islands, and the tune was actually written to commemorate the battle that occurred on the Falklands in 1982. McCrae Meadow is the large field in the shadow of Grandfather Mountain, North Carolina, where the Grandfather Mountain Highland Gathering is held, one of the largest Highland gatherings in the southeast U.S. The next tune we'll be playing is entitled The Bells of Dunblane. The bells refer to the 13th century Gothic cathedral in Dunblane, Scotland. On March 13th, 1996, a disturbed young man entered the Dunblane Elementary School and opened fire, killing 16 5- and 6-year-olds. At a memorial service, as the last of the victims was laid to rest, there was a moment of silence and the church bells all over Scotland were tolled. The bells of Dunblane. The next two tunes we'll be playing, the first is called Lochenside. It was written by Pipe Major John McClellan, who earned the Distinguished Conduct Medal during a battle of Magersfontein, where he rallied the troops by playing the bagpipes. He was actually wounded in the knee before he began playing. The second tune of the set is called Shoals of Herring. It's derived from a BBC radio commentary singing the fishing. And the tune itself was an ancient fishing song based on the herring fisheries off the northeast coast of England and Scotland. Lochenside and Shoals of Herring. Although the Great Highland Pipe has been used for work music, for dance music, for festival music, it's best known as the war pipe, to lead the soldiers into battle. And the next three tunes that we're going to be playing, the first one is called Cullen Bay, where the pipes are a working tune named after a small fishing village, the Cullen Bay, on the North Sea coast of Scotland. The next two tones, the first one is called Wings, is the regimental march past of the Royal Corps of Engineers. The tune was originally written for brass band and then transposed for the bagpipes prior to World War II. The last tune of the set that we'll play on this is called 76 Police Tattoo. Now, usually we think of tattoo as ink on your skin, but when a military calls for a tattoo, it's actually derived from an old Dutch term, dodem tapto. It was the final call of the evening when the mass bands, all of the field musicians would be sent out to the streets of a town to signal for the tavern owners to turn off the taps so that the soldiers could be sent back and marched back to camp. So Cullen Bay, Wings, and the 76th Police Tattoo to march the soldiers back to camp. The next two tunes we'll be playing, the first is called The Top of Ben Lomond. Ben Lomond is a mountain in the Scottish Highlands situated on the east shore of Loch Lomond. The second tune of the set is called The Farewell to the Creeks. And in trying to do some research on this, I learned that William McIntosh, one of the early settlers who came to the United States, actually married into the Creek Nation and became a chief of the Creeks. Now, unfortunately, he sold Creek land to President Jackson, and the rest of the chiefs then had him drawn and quartered, and he had to say goodbye to the Creeks. Interesting story, but that's not what the song is about. The composer who wrote the song actually had a lovely house out in the wooded area, and there were some lovely creeks, water creeks. And when he got called up to military service, the tune was for him bidding farewell to the creeks in his backyard. The Top of Ben Lomond and Farewell to the Creeks. going to slow it down just a little bit. The next tune is a lament called The Water is Wide. Originally, the name of the song was Wally Wally, whatever that means. Now, what it means is, oh, woe is me. And it tells of a love separated by the wide, wide waters. The water is wide. Well, no water is too wide that you can't cross it when love is concerned. And the next tune that we'll be playing is called The Brown-Haired Maiden. One of the more popular songs of the Highlands, was translated from the Gaelic in the late 19th century. To take that long road, to find your loved one, the next tune is The High Road to Gairloch. Gairloch is a small fishing village on the shores of Loch Gairloch, and that's the ancestral home of the Clan Mackenzie, whose tartan we wear. That set will conclude with the Barren Rocks of Aden. The Barren Rocks of Aden are a port city. It's from a port city in Yemen, and it was dedicated to the 78th Seaforth Highlanders Regiment of the British Army when they were stationed in Bombay, India. The Brown-Haired Maiden, High Road to Gairloch, and the Barren Rocks of Aden. Highland pipe is representative of Scotland, but if we actually visit all 7 of the Celtic nations, including Spain and France and Brittany, we will find a form of bagpipe in every one of those nations, including our sister country, Ireland. And the next set that we'll be playing is considered our Irish set. The first tune, The Minstrel Boy, was extremely popular, and it was written during the rebellion of 1798 about a young musician who laid his heart down to take up arms. The next tune is The Wearing of the Green, which we're all familiar with, and the last tune is Let Erin Remember, and it's based on the story of the time that the kings ruled in Ireland, Irish kings, not English kings, and that they wanted Erin, Ireland, to remember the time of self-rule. The Minstrel Boy, The Wearing of the Green, and Let Erin Remember.
Roll. 1, 2.
One of the customs under the monarchy was that if a lord or duke was granted land, it was their responsibility to raise an army to protect that land. That also happened here in America. Many of the Scots who came over were commissioned by the king to actually form Highland regiments. This next tune, The Cock of the North, was written to commemorate Alexander Gordon, the 4th Duke of Gordon, who in 1794 was called upon to raise the 92nd Regiment of Foot, which became known as the Gordon Highlanders. We'll follow that by slowing down just a little bit to a tune called the Gaelic Air. This one is also known as Oh My Dearest Dear.
Roll. 1, 2.
The next three tunes commemorate battles of the 19th century. The first was commemorating the Green Hills of Tyrol during the Crimean War. The next tune is When the Battle's O'er, became a very popular tune, almost considered one of the major tunes of Scotland. And that was written by Pipe Major William Robb of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. And we're going to conclude that set, those three tunes, with Castle Dangerous. Castle Dangerous was inspired by the Douglas Castle, which was the stronghold for the last novel written by Sir Walter Scott. Green Hills of Tyrol, When the Battle's O'er, and Castle Dangerous. The next tune we'll be playing was actually written by German musicians. The Celtic nation actually derived itself from a Germanic tribe that crossed across Europe and entered into the Highlands and the lowlands of Scotland. Even the Germans have a form of bagpipe referred to as the Dudelsack. This tune, Highland Cathedral, was written in 1982, became very, very popular, and was played at Madonna's wedding at Skibo Castle in the year 2000. pipers over here are playing is that famous tune, Tuning.
May have to play it some more.
Yes, we may have to play that frequently. Bagpipes are an acoustic instrument that's made of wood that swells and shrinks depending on the weather. And this weather, although it's very much like Scotland, wreaks havoc on the tuning of bagpipes. Highland Cathedral. With a great Highland pipe, the pipers are actually playing 4 different instruments at the same time. The long pipes over the shoulder are referred to as drones, and they play a harmonious, well, once they're tuned, a harmonious note to balance out the chanter, the piece that they play the melody with. All of the reeds are natural reeds made out of cane, and so they also are reactive to the weather. Each pipe has to be in tune with itself, and every one of the pipes has to be in tune with each other. So we've got 7 pipes here, and 4 cane instruments. We're talking about 28 different instruments that have to be in tune. Otherwise, it sounds like cats screaming. The drums that we use are modeled after regimental style drumming. For centuries, drums were used as calling instruments to give announcements, to give all the signals in battle, to give all the signals during a camp. There would be a signal to get up in the morning, there'd be a signal to go get wood, there'd be a signal for lunch. Every duty during the day would be announced by the rolls of the drums and or a fife, which was later added. We use the bass drum as an announcing instrument also. If you have been paying attention toward the end of the tune, you'll hear a double beat. And that's the signal to the rest of the band. It's time to stop this tune. Maybe I could do that with tuning. See, it worked. I've lost my notes on this. The next three tunes that we're going to be playing, Pipe Major J.K. Cairns was written by his son, Pipe Major Archie Cairns. It's a tremendous tradition to follow one's parents. In fact, the drum major right now of the Royal Scots Guards is son to the pipe major of the Royal Scots Guards. And so it's considered a distinguished honor to follow your father in those traditions. And we have a father-son combination here too. Connor's not quite ready to step up to be pipe major yet. That Pipe Major J.K. Cairns will be followed by Terabus, which dates back really to the time of the Viking invasion. We believe that the word Terabus was a battle cry. Tyr and Odin be with us. It was a battle cry back to the 1100s, and that set will conclude with the Old Rustic Bridge, which oddly enough is named after an old rustic bridge. Once again, we are the Appalachian Highlanders, pipes and drums from Abingdon, Virginia. We've got all the way on your right side, Pipe Major Randy Stanley, his son Connor Stanley. Liam is our latest horn. Liam just got suited up like 2 performances ago, so let's give Liam a round of applause. Jeff Forrester is our pipe sergeant. Dr. Jeff Jones follows him. Dr. Dana Chamberlain. We've got a bunch of doctors in this band, so if you have a heart attack, we can take care of you. And if you have a tooth problem, we can take care of you. And Dr. Bruce Higginbotham, drum sergeant, Joe Pendergast, and I'm Michael Henningsen, and we are the Appalachian Highlanders Pipes and Drums. One more tune. Amazing Grace. The words to this tune, well, this song is our most requested tune, Amazing Grace. The words were written by John Newton in 1779. John had been a slave trader. He captained several slave trips. But during a storm one night where he almost lost his life, the Lord saved him and converted him, and he became a minister. Later in life, he wrote this song, Amazing Grace, How Sweet the Sound. We're all very familiar with it. It was finally included, although it had been sung traditionally, we believe, to an Appalachian melody. It wasn't included in a hymnal until 1835. Amazing Grace. Appalachian Highlanders Pipes and Drums.